right, welcome to this episode of Reality Armchair on the Pink Ember Media channel. Today we're covering episode 48 or season 48, episode 5 of Survivor. And on today's wall, we have Paris Green, Freedom and Structure. I think it's a punk record, and it's definitely a rock record. It was a local one I picked up at a record shop. Same Motels, Same with Television, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Californication, and Kid Cudi's Indicud. I love all these records, besides maybe the first one. I kind of like it. It's good. It's just one I picked up to support a local artist and as a blind buy, and it's pretty good. Yeah, I guess we should just start from the start, which was coming back from Last Tribal from, is it Vula? Vula came back from the blind side on the California Girls by Camilla and Kyle voting out Thomas. Very upset about that.
Shaheen makes a comment saying California Girls didn't even last one tribal.
Yeah, and then I think he said, or someone said, it might have been Joe, like, that's a shame we were so good, or something like that. Like, oh, we would have been so great.
Yeah,
and it's like
so
you guys lost at the first chance you guys got. Like, it's
and then it shows Joe saying that he was mad about being lied to. Like, he was like, I was 100% genuine in those one-on-one conversations we were having. And Kyle was like, I get it, but what did you expect?
I mean, yeah, it's like, should I just like roll over and die because
like let you vote me out
because I want to seem like we've made an honest connection? Like, no, it's like I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to stay.
Yeah, so but that's also ridiculous. Kyle was being genuine too. Like, even though he was lying about the fact that he had an idol and his alliance with Camilla, like, obviously he's gonna do what he has to do to make it through, and he did, and he came out on top, and I'm happy for it. It sucks that we had to lose a good player like Thomas, who would have been fun to watch, but that's just how it.
I think it would have been way better entertainment if Shaheen lost, because Shaheen, I don't think he's going to bring much. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong, but
I think for later in the episode, there is a good reason, or like there's a good argument for why he should have stayed versus Thomas. But I'll bring that up later.
I don't see any argument, but we'll see.
I'll just say it, that it led to a team of 4 people of color, and that all of their struggles like led them to creating this 4-person alliance later on.
I suppose. I think
it wasn't necessarily like their own struggles. They talked about their parents' struggles.
Yeah.
And
which I guess is pretty much next, actually.
It's not, but
it's not. What's next?
Well, that's at the very beginning of the episode. So Joe, after Kyle basically says like, I'm sorry, but I just want to win. Because Joe asks like, now what?
Yeah.
And Kyle just says, let's win so we don't have to do tribal again. And then Camilla and Kyle are still saying that they're acting like they're not in an alliance, which is crazy. Like, you just showed your hand, basically.
Yeah.
Kind of. I guess they could still pull it off.
Yeah, like, we're only doing this because we're on the same team, but we're not really that tight.
Well, actually, Kyle mentions that he felt like he saw that his bag was searched. He says that it looked like my bag had been searched, so I figured I should use my idol. So he actually lies that Camilla was not the one that told him.
Oh, I see. I didn't catch that.
Yeah. And then it just goes straight to the reward challenge.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. Yeah. I think within like not even 5 minutes, we're at the reward challenge.
Well, it's because it's the first episode where we had a separate reward challenge and immunity challenge.
Yeah. And they went to Sanctuary for this one.
They went to Sanctuary, which I don't feel like I remember them doing Sanctuary rewards pre-merge. Yeah, before they like create these groups within the merged tribe.
Oh, I was gonna say, I do remember groups going to.
But they separate them after merge. Is what I remember.
It's like you get into groups.
Yeah. I don't really remember them doing tribe Sanctuary.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that one, Say and Charity sit out on their tribes, And then the funniest part of that was Cedric getting called out for being an abysmal failure on one of his throws. That was pretty
Yeah,
funny.
he was like, "What an abysmal failure by Cedric." And it did remind me. There's these clips been going around on Instagram, maybe TikTok as well, of somebody doing AI voice of Jeff, like just fucking railing in on these contestants, like, "What a dumb fucking idiot" or something
Wow,
like
that was
that.
horrendous.
Yeah. And it kind of reminded me of that. Like, damn, Jeff, you did not need to say all that.
That was pretty funny.
He does that every once in a while, where he'll just be like,
Yeah, he'll call them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Cedric's like, "Thanks, Jeff."
Yeah, he literally says, "Thanks, Jeff."
So then Logie wins the sanctuary. Yeah. And Vula was second. So Vula still got like a little bit of pastries and whatnot sent to their
They got a little box.
beach. Yeah. It shows Say. Oh, and then it's like Mary saying how happy she was that they won.
Which, to Say's credit, for her blow up, I would have been pretty pissed off too. I don't know if I would have said anything, but the way Mary worded it was pretty crazy.
It was a little crazy because Mary said, "We didn't even need to win. Like, we still have food from yesterday."
Yeah, we still have fruit back home. Like, we didn't really need the win, but it feels so great to win.
Yeah, which was kind of funny, but
which, if I had lost twice in a row, like I don't have anything back in my tribe, or I have like very little fruit.
Say won the challenge before that.
Well, yeah, but it was revealed that they only had like a kiwi and a apple left. So, like, if I was in Say's position, or at least anyone else from that tribe, or anyone else from that didn't win the sanctuary, I would have been pissed too. Like, yo, shut the fuck up. That's uncalled for.
It was just funny, like Say actually saying in front of everybody, like, Mary, stop being a sore winner.
Which I think everyone was kind of feeling, except for the winners.
Yeah, but I also agree with what Charity said, was that like, and David, like everybody was like, Mary, you haven't even had this experience of winning. Like, this is kind of your first experience of winning something, and you should be proud that you won. And Charity calls Say a sore loser.
Internally, though, I would be a sore loser. I'd be like, "Can this bitch shut up? I don't really want to hear her gloat about how she still has fruit back home and she's not going to the sanctuary." I would be in Say's position where I'd be like, "You just shut the fuck up."
Yeah, but would you say it in front of the whole
No, I would never say that, because it does nothing but blow up your game.
Yeah, and Mitch is what, that's what he said in his interview.
I don't believe that I don't believe that everyone was in unanimous thought process of like, "Oh yeah, you go, girl. We're so happy for you." I'm sure there were some people there that are like, "Oh, can she just shut the fuck up?" Like,
sure, but none of them said it.
I know. That's why I kind of appreciate saying it in a very small dose, and that she is saying what I feel like a lot of other people are thinking, like their negative thoughts. Obviously, like most of these people, like I would say 99% of them, the 1% being Say, are very positive. They're like super chipper, and they're not really like a downer, besides maybe Star, which turns around this episode. But I just feel like there's a lot of moments within Survivor where I'm like, man, I really wish somebody would be like, "Can you just shut the fuck up? Nobody wants to hear this." I think another great example that I can think of is it 2 seasons ago or last season with Q? He won what is it called? Sanctuary, I think, is what it was. And he got to pick 3 people. And there was this one crazy girl that was like, "Please, I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten in like 5 days." And she's like, I can only.
I feel like she was the season before last season.
Yeah, and she's like, I can't eat rice. I can't eat anything we have back in the tribe.
She was ridiculous.
She was like, "I haven't shit in 5 days," or something like that.
She actually like screamed.
She screamed at him, and she was like, "I'm so tired. I haven't eaten in 5." And it was just it was a level. It was such entitlement, but it was like, I'm so glad Q didn't fold and like give her what she was begging for, because she didn't really deserve it.
She did not deserve it. She was also against Q.
Yeah, and that's what Q is one of my favorites, because he was kind of like Say in a way, where he was just like saying what a lot of other people were thinking out loud, and his gameplay was horrible. I mean, he made
it pretty far though.
He made it decently far, which is, I think Say is kind of on that path if she just kind of rides the line more carefully than she is right now. But
she was pretty close.
She was pretty close.
So then it shows Siva sitting after losing, and Cedric asks Bianca, like, how do you think Thomas got voted out? Because when they saw that Thomas was voted out, they're like, what the fuck? Like, wasn't it supposed to be 3-2? Like, how did Thomas get voted out? And Bianca is saying that she's realizing she has to be open to new people because her main alliance just got voted out.
That was her number one.
Yeah, and Chrissy, it's showing that Chrissy is upset about Say's comments and the fact that she didn't compete but ate fruit when they got back.
Yeah, because I guess Say came back and had a kiwi, and then she was kind of saying like, "Oh, I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted."
Yeah, and like Chrissy that was like, "Why did you have to say it like that? Like you've been competing in every challenge, like so have I."
Yeah.
And Say's like, "Well, I deserve a break." And I deserve this and I deserve that. And like obviously Chrissy is getting annoyed with that. And then later it shows that Say is also annoyed with Chrissy, like getting down her throat about eating.
Yeah, she's fruit. Like she's acting like my mom, like telling me what to do, and I don't like that, so she wants to get her out.
So ridiculous. And Chrissy just says she's digging her own grave. Mitch then asked Bianca if she'd vote Say out. Say thinks that Bianca would vote with her and Cedric to get Chrissy out. So it's all kind of like mixed. Like they're kind of showing Bianca that she's like the in between. Like it is
even though she doesn't have a vote.
2 versus 2 because she hasn't revealed that she doesn't have a vote. And then it shows the sanctuary with Loggy and David. He finally has milk again, so he's like on a high having milk again.
Of course,
he literally like
the guy with 4 nipples
has an orgasm when he drinks milk.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Which they didn't show like any, like usually with the camera they'll show like there's a advantage, but there was no advantage at the sanctuary, which I thought was weird. I feel like if I was ever on this show and I was in the sanctuary, the first thing I would do before eating would be look for some kind of advantage because there usually always is one.
It didn't even show anybody kind of like trying to find one.
Yeah, because like last season Saul found one and he kind of found it by accident. He was just laying down and the camera was like showing it so much. That scene, I remember they were showing like so many angles of like all of them around and it's like on this pole and they just kept showing it and highlighting it. But this episode they didn't really they didn't show they didn't indicate that there was even one there, which would be pretty weird. I feel like that's kind of Survivor standard.
Currently they're all at Vula, all the advantages who aren't even searching.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so then Charity, oh yeah, she actually started crying while they were there. And then it shows Eva saying that she feels like Charity is fake and she doesn't trust her.
Which, when she started crying, I was like, this is a little much. But however,
it didn't read as fake to me.
It didn't read as fake to me, and I am a crier, so I know that sometimes you just can't hold it. But it did to me feel like this is a little much. But if you have to cry, you have to cry. There's nothing you can do about it. I think just the way it was coming out, if it was kind of dry at the moment, and then they did show her, and like I think there was some tears, but it just felt. I can see where she was coming from, but I probably wouldn't have even brought it up in my interview.
What she was saying was that she's getting better at reading social cues. Like she knows she's not good at it, but she's getting better, and that she just is reading Charity as fake. But I just thought that was interesting. I was trying to like think of it how Eva would think of it out there, because obviously we don't see enough of these people to truly get that vibe from them. But at least Charity isn't reading fake through our screens.
Yeah, not from what I can see.
Yeah.
So I do think she's a little annoying though.
Then they showed the whole like Shaheen, Camilla, and Joe talking about their parents' struggles.
Yes. So I think Shaheen brings it up first with his parents were escaping the Iranian war and genocide. And the first thing I immediately thought was obviously the current war going on with Palestinians and Iran. And it kind of made me think of the perspective of what people think of this development, because obviously I think it was pretty obvious that he came from Iranian background. His name's Shaheen, and he's a very hairy man. But I know the kind of currents uh, political landscape of Iranians is very, very uh, edgy right now. Gal Gadot, a prominent Iranian actress, just got her uh, Hollywood star on in or Hollywood star in Hollywood on the boulevard. And all I saw from that in discourse was just complete hate towards her because she mentioned how proud she is, I think, to be an Iranian person. And I think just with everything going on, it's such a delicate thing to talk about, I think. And it kind of made me just wonder, like, what I'm curious to see at least what Twitter thinks and maybe Reddit on Shaheen being so open about something that obviously is not happening now, but just a past war.
Yeah. This will probably sound insensitive, but I kind of glazed over listening to their stories.
I was a little over it. I was like, this is not,
It's a little too
and
much.
that is after I was thinking about the Iranian stuff. When I think Camilla started talking, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I think this is the people or I think this is the thing that people are upset about with this new era of Survivor is kind of trauma dumping and just kind of not really trauma dumping, but just talking about their past struggles and kind of highlighting it and making such a big point. Whereas back in the day on Survivor, which I have seen older seasons of like Boss and Rob and stuff like that,
You don't hear too much about
you don't hear too much about their personal lives besides like what they do for work and their background a little bit, but they never go into like
a
showing
lot
up,
of detail.
and they never like bring up pictures of their family, and they never have like this somber music, and it does give me little flashbacks to like watching America's Got Talent where
Yes.
you're watching
American Idol.
you're watching a game show, you're watching a talent show, you're watching something that is competitive and something that's we're not here to hear about how sad your background is. We're here to see your talent, we're here to see you compete. So I think it is a little annoying, and it does trickle into other shows. I think one I haven't seen it in within recent times, which I don't see a bunch of competitive reality TV shows, as the Traders, because it does happen in the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
In the challenge, it does happen quite a bit. Not really that. It's
Well, I was
mostly
gonna mention the challenge because I feel like
it,
I fast forward through
yeah,
those
she does
moments.
whenever it's mostly family stuff. Like Corey will FaceTime his baby mama, his fifth baby mama, and be
I
like,
could not care less. Like
yeah,
I'm just like you guys are on a reality TV show. Like it's not truly reality. Like a lot of
yeah.
you like have made it clear that what we see on our screen is not their
There's
reality.
only been two times where I've been interested, which was when Michelle was dating this British guy and he had a girlfriend back home and he was FaceTiming her saying how much he loved her. That was pretty interesting because it was like that's actually affecting the show as of right now. And then when Corey was FaceTiming Nelson, who had just lost his leg, who was
But he was on the
he
show.
was on the show, so it was obviously very interesting. But whenever someone's like FaceTiming their baby mama or their wife or their mother or their brother or their friend, it's like who gives a fuck?
I fast forward.
Like who
Like you're
fucking
gonna be out
cares?
this episode anyways, usually.
Yeah, that's
Like
usually how they also set it up. But I do kind of am seeing what people, because obviously I'm not a huge. I mean, I am a fan of Survivor, but I have not been a part of the Survivor train for as long as most of these people have been watching for.
I really don't
So
think that they've ever showed like pictures
yeah, showing
before.
pictures and stuff like that, and I can't really sympathize. I mean, I can sympathize with that narrative, but I can't really understand what people who watch. I mean, I guess I can because I did watch a lot of the challenge in its younger years, and I remember seeing that shit within that show and being a little upset about it. Um, but I haven't been on the Survivor train as long as a lot of other people have, and I am starting to come around to like not really liking that aspect of the show.
I think they're starting to get more into it. If they're showing pictures of parents and
Yeah,
talking about parent struggles, not even their like necessarily their own struggles,
yeah, and it's
I'm like, there's too much. Like I can appreciate that you guys like come from that background and I can understand for those certain people that can relate, like that's important to hear those
yeah.
stories. But I'm like
And the crazy thing is that that's not even the end of the sob stories on this episode. Not that it's like I think it's more justified towards The
Eva.
when it happens to Eva because it
It's
actually
her
affects her
own
game.
struggle.
It's her own struggle and it affects the game and it's currently happening within the
Mhm.
episode. It's not something like, oh, something's happening back home that I'm currently grieving about or whatever.
I did come out of it, like, after that scene of them talking about that, they said that I mean, Camilla's, like, sitting there crying about it, and she says that they basically broke bread together and that they feel, like, really connected, and Shaheen is sitting there saying that they just formed, like, a four-person block. They have this new alliance going forward together, and
That's how you do it.
because of their struggles. And I did see, like, four people of color sitting there and, like, how, um like, that really doesn't happen often, I feel like, in Survivor, at least.
Four people of color coming
In
together.
one tribe and forming an alliance together.
Yeah.
And they didn't even mention that. I just, like,
Yeah, and I will never be upset about that. I think
no.
that's great. It's just when it gets into like the pacing of the show where it's like, okay, I don't care.
Yeah. I did think that was cool that they decided to form an alliance based
Yeah,
off of
because
their
I do
struggles.
think obviously they make it to merge, so we're really gonna see the test of their alliance going into merge next
After they
episode.
can get back with their old
Yeah,
tribe, yeah.
so I am curious to see how far they make it, and I am excited to see because I think out of everyone that has um, merged from this pre-merge, this like mini merge within switching up the tribes, I think them four have the strongest alliance compared to everyone else who has kind of gotten scrambled up. I don't think anyone. Well, I guess Loggy had a pretty good bond at the end,
Yeah.
but I think Orange Team really just like crumbled. I think it's probably more divided than
Yeah,
it ever is.
that one's gonna be interesting to see what
That
happens.
one, I feel like they're kind of fucked because they're on the outs of both of their
Cedric is
tribes.
fucked.
Cedric's fucked, and they're both on the outs of their tribes currently and with their original tribes.
Hmm. So after that, it shows the immunity challenge. Star and Cedric set out, and Vula ends up winning immunity in their first.
Yes, by
And
quite a long
yeah, they
shot.
actually won like way before
Pretty
the other
quick.
two tribes did.
Yeah.
So Joe, obviously on Vula, is standing there like watching Eva in her turn. Like it gets to down to the three balls on each side, and they both have to land one more ball. And
Yeah.
Eva is struggling, and she gets really frustrated. Like she starts crying and just
Well,
getting really
yeah, and she's
frustrated.
making a bunch of faces, but for context,
She actually cried. She
during
was
the
crying.
during the thing, well, for context, this is like one of those ones where you hold two bars at the end and then you're kind of like moving
Whole board.
the whole board and you're trying to
It's
get
like a
it.
maze for the ball to
It's a
go
maze
through.
for the ball and you can't overdo it or else it'll fall off the board. You can't underdo it or else you can't get over the hump. And I think Eva goes first or second.
She tries, I think, several
She tries
times.
several times and she keeps having to swap off because she's just getting too frustrated.
Yeah.
And everyone has to do it. Every single person has to get their ball on the board. So eventually it leads to her having to do it. There's no other like way around it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when she starts getting more and more frustrated because there's no way out.
Well,
There's no way
yeah,
to
and
take a
she's the
break.
last one.
Yeah, so everything's riding on her, and everyone else kind of did it pretty fast. I think Mary did hers in one shot,
Mary
or
was so good
she did it
because
really fast.
because Jeff said that it's Say versus Mary currently,
Yeah,
and Mary pulled it out and like it looked like so
she did
fast,
it pretty
so
quick,
fast.
and I think she said she did it first try.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, um, Eva's the last one, and she ends up winning. So Logie is safe with second place, but then Eva starts crying and having
Like
an episode
hyperventilating
hyperventilating,
and just getting really overstimulated.
which later she refers to as an episode. And Joe, it shows Joe like intensely watching Eva. And I actually said like, Joe, go over and give her a hug. And then immediately like Jeff actually asks Joe, do you want to go over and hug her? Or like, why don't you go over and hug her? Because apparently Jeff could see that Joe was like so intensely watching
Yeah,
Eva. Because obviously like he was the only one standing there knowing what was happening.
yeah.
So Eva is, um, she asks him to like hold her hands, and that calms her down a lot. Like they have this really intimate moment in front of everybody. And after she calms down and they're all standing in their tribes again, Jeff asks, like, well, what happened there?
Yeah, he asked like what that was all about,
hmm
and then Eva.
Well, I want to say that Jeff has never actually explained that the tribes are meant to like be separate, and that's why he had to give Joe permission to go over and hug Eva, because I guess it's like an unspoken rule that the tribes cannot commingle.
That's what I was wondering because I was like, I feel like Joe could just probably walk over there, but I didn't know if it was allowed.
I mean, I guess it, when you think about it, yeah, you've never seen anything like that,
Yeah,
but I
because
don't think it's ever been said.
it's never there's never really been a scenario, at least from what I've seen,
Not like that.
to where someone gets split up and they know something of that degree and they need a help, or they're the only one that can help and they can't because they're not on the same tribe.
Yeah. But Jeff actually points out that Joe exposed their connection, and that the reason why they keep them separate is like they're separate tribes, and especially after like changing up tribes, like you're exposing your alliance with this person in front of everybody. And he just asked like, well, what was it in that moment that made you want to do that? And Joe explains like, I just want to be the person that I tell my daughters to be in every situation, even in the game. I want to be that person. And does he say anything else?
He just says that I think he says basically along the lines that he doesn't care if it kind of blows up his game. He
Yeah, he
just
didn't
wants
care.
to be there for Eva.
He saw Eva in need, and he just wanted to be there for her.
Yeah,
And then Eva decides to tell her story to everyone.
yeah, because I think Jeff asked what happened, and she basically says that I know no one here really knows besides Joe, but I have autism, and sometimes I get overstimulated, and I was getting really frustrated, and
She
um,
had an episode.
she had an episode, and I don't she was kind of a longer speech, but I
Well, she
don't.
told the whole thing that she told Joe originally. Like she gave her entire backstory.
Yeah, and then I think that's when Jeff started talking again. I don't really remember what Jeff said.
Well, Eva was just saying like, autism is just something about me, but it's not my entire person. Like it's not the only thing about me, and it hasn't kept me back. And I don't want anybody else with autism to feel like it's like a downfall to who they are, and um, that you can like come through it and still do things like Survivor, or be on an all men's hockey team, or like anything that Eva is currently doing. Like,
Yeah.
um, and then Jeff talks about well, okay, so Jeff always says on the On Fire podcast, like he thinks about the kids that watch Survivor and always feel like they want to do Survivor. So he talks about that and he actually starts crying.
On the podcast?
No,
Oh, in this
on the
episode,
show.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he basically says, "Oh, I have kids, and I know what it's like to see them struggle and something like that, and like having them have influences um and
Okay, well, what I was trying to say is that Jeff constantly thinks about the little kids that are watching the show. That
yeah,
is something he feels very passionately about, and that is what he loves most about the show, is that it inspires little kids to grow up watching Survivor, wanting to be on Survivor, and that it just inspires them so much. And so with the added layer of autistic kids or anyone on the spectrum seeing that Eva made it, and that she's, doing these challenges, making it through, and like being an awesome player, he got choked up thinking about that.
yeah,
And that he's
which
a father too.
I don't know. I'm a little conflicted because in one hand, I am like, all right, we're kind of making a big moment about this for television, but in a
You
way,
think so?
a little bit, but on the other hand, I don't think Eva's doing it, but I think it was just kind of like the producers are like, oh, rubbing their hands, like, oh yes, this is exactly what we wanted.
You think so?
A little bit, but on the other
I mean, it
hand,
happened authentically.
it did happen authentically. But on the other hand, um, I do appreciate it in a way where I grew up. I am autistic, highly functioning autistic with Asperger's, and I grew up with very little um, representation in television. I think the biggest representations when I was a kid was Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, which, if you've ever seen Big Bang Theory, is like a lampoon. What's the term I'm looking for? Like a lampoostic, or what's
Lampoon?
lampoon, like, which is like a, I'm trying to find the noun for it, like, or basically like just a very exaggerated version of autism and what it could be. I think there are definitely some people like young, or not young Sheldon, but Sheldon from Big Bang Theory that are like that. And then the other one I can think of is Abed from Community, which is what I kind of gravitated towards when I was a teenager, because that came out a little later. And those are very two different perspectives and portrayals of autism. And then now there's The Good Doctor, which is like probably the worst portrayal and like the most robotic and I would say insensitive, honestly. And there's some other ones I've seen, like The Accountant, Ben Affleck, which is a very interesting movie because Ben Affleck is a very suave kind of guy and very charming, and then you see him as this like autistic guy, and I think it's one of his better performances. But anyway, I just didn't have a ton of representation. So I think as a kid, if I was a fan of Survivor and I saw someone like Eva on my screen and someone that I could relate to, I think it would have completely opened my eyes, because I was diagnosed very young, but I wasn't told by my parents until I was a teenager. And it felt like a whole new world was opened up when I found out, and a lot of things made sense after that. And to have this kind of representation, I think, is very important. And Survivor is one of the biggest reality shows of all time. It's one of the longest running in America.
It's on
Um,
CBS. I
it's on
mean, yeah.
CBS. It's like prime time television. Um, so it's a very important moment for people with autism, especially children who are seeing this, because I don't know if I've ever been as seen up until this moment within other media. And I think about that quite a bit. I know there was a lot of backlash between the Indian comedian who went after The Simpsons for the portrayal of Apu on The Simpsons because of what it did for negative stereotypes towards um, Indians and American culture. And I know a lot of people kind of ragged on him for being or for being like sensitive, and for basically getting Abu canceled, and they had to write him off.
Mm.
Um, and as a kid who grew up with The Simpsons being pretty relevant, there was a lot of Apu jokes that were being made. There's a lot of people making the accent, making the correlation of all Indians are either cab drivers or supermarket owners, or like quickie mart owners. So I saw firsthand what the impact of Apu did to the youth of America within my town, at least. And I know I've heard other stories of that too. So in a way, I can sympathize with that, because I had very little representation of autism that I saw, and I know a lot of kids kind of use Sheldon from Big Bang Theory as kind of like the focal point, and the same people did with Indians. And I do feel like Sheldon, in a way, did um, kind of put this bad taste in people's mouth with their representation of autism. Um, so I really do think that it's
I think the
great.
difference is that these characters were written
Well, yeah, these are written, and this is an actual person.
by people who do not who who wasn't Indian, right?
Yeah, no one on. Well, I don't know. I can't say nobody on the staff of The Simpsons were Indian, but I'm pretty sure the person who created that character is not Indian.
And then probably the person writing Sheldon was not autistic.
They could be. They could not.
I mean, yeah, I think that most of the time these people that are portrayed in characters are and have are either a person of color, on the spectrum, a woman. Several of these things are not written by somebody who has that life experience. and so it doesn't show the true experience of
Yeah,
being
and
that.
I will say this is more of a unique scenario because most kids aren't watching reality TV. I would say Survivor is probably the most kid watched kid watch reality show. It's kind of a show that parents would probably be willing to let their kids watch.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see a lot of parents being like, "Hey, Junior, come watch the challenge with me, or the Jersey Shore, or the Traders, or whatever," because that's
Mm-hmm.
more profanity based and
Yeah.
more kind of cutthroat. Whereas Survivor is more easygoing. I mean, the gameplay is cutthroat, but for the most part, it's pretty tame as far as its language and as far as its themes
Well,
go.
and it can be inspiring.
And it can be inspiring, especially this new era of Survivor. It's
Yeah.
very PG, is the way I could put it. It kind of reminds me of wrestling, where WWE back in the day was very edgy, like in the 90s, was very edgy, very cutthroat. And then they kind of leaned into this more PG era. And that change ultimately expanded their franchise into something that, you know, no one ever could have expected. WWE is one of the biggest sports programs of all time because of that decision. And I kind of see Survivor in that way a little bit. I think it was a little bit more traditional reality TV back in the day when people like Boston Rob were playing it. And now it's kind of more, I wouldn't say watered down, but it's more
It just
accessible.
includes more
It's
real life.
more accessible to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before it was more accessible to like people who like reality TV. I would say Survivor is in the same
Mm,
echelon of like America's Got Talent. What do you mean?
I disagree because I watched Survivor from a young age, and like Survivor was always something to be inspired by. I mean, it may not have hit home in certain ways like it does now, but
Mm-hmm.
it was always showing these people that were doing challenges, and from an early time, like I remember Suri, like she was overweight. She talked about like watching Survivor from her couch, and she just like wanted to be on Survivor, and she got on Survivor. And so like in certain ways they did talk about struggles in life, and like they used like Suri a lot in that example of like stop sitting on your couch, like apply for Survivor, come out here and play. And it was always like they wanted to be inspiring for people to come out and play and like actually
Yeah, no,
do.
I think it's always been inspiring, but I think it's hit a different threshold as far as mainstream appeal with this new era of Survivor, where they're kind of trying to include different storylines and aspects of real world struggles, like someone who's trans, or someone who's gay, or somebody who has autism, or
Yeah, they're including a lot more.
somebody who has a unique story that they could tell that would resonate with people at home, and they could be like, oh, that's inspiring. I think that they're more trying to hit home on the inspiring part and less on let's just invite a bunch of shitty people that will make for good television, like a Russell, who's like, obviously they casted him because
He made good
he
television.
made good television, he's a good villain. um I can't say that there's too many good, like, purely hated evil villains.
Has there really been a villain in a while?
I can't think of one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, like, as far as villain goes, like, Genevieve was the one last season, but she wasn't evil.
She wasn't really.
She wasn't rotten.
I think she was only viewed as a villain because you wanted Rachel to win.
Yeah, she was like the anti-hero, like the someone that was fighting the hero, which I guess is not the definition of an anti-hero, but basically, like, Russell is the best example I can come up of, and he is rotten. He is evil.
Mm-hmm.
And Genevieve is just like a good Survivor player and somebody who is at odds with the other good Survivor player. And this is kind of the same thing with Say. You're rooting for Mary because she's like a girl boss, and then here's Say, who's like playing really hard and kind of, you know, someone you don't want to root for. And she's not, I wouldn't say evil or rotten. I think she's a little snarky and a little.
She's very entitled.
Very entitled, very
her
selfish.
Coming back and saying I'm gonna take a break. I've played in every challenge. And I've like had back to back losses, so I deserve a break more than others. Next, it shows Star completely flipping.
Yeah, Star's like, you know what? I have a completely different perspective on Eva, and she actually mentions that.
She very expressively
Yeah,
tells Eva that she is a motivation and like
yeah.
she is what how does she say it? Do you remember?
I don't really remember,
She's
but
very expressive though. She's basically like shouting at Eva. You're
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. She's like pretty expressive about it, and I didn't really, it wasn't clicking with me. I'm like, Star is not autistic from what I can tell, and she's never mentioned it.
She mentions that she has family members
Yeah,
on the
but she
spectrum.
mentions it, and um, obviously, if you have someone with that or any kind of condition, you can definitely sympathize with somebody who has that same condition, as an extension from somebody within your family. So I kind of got it at that point, but at first I was like, why is she so like, on the Eva train all of a sudden?
I
And
think
it's,
that everything just flipped for her in that moment.
yeah, everything. Her whole gameplay changed after that.
Completely. I mean, I think that she just saw every interaction that she had with Eva as different after
Yeah,
that.
because she was probably like, why is Eva being such a,
Racist.
well, maybe like a racist, but also like putting up a wall with me? Like,
Hmm.
you know, why is she not connecting with me so well as the other people on my tribe? And it is because she struggles with social cues and connecting
Hmm.
with other people. That's one
And
of the,
Star was very difficult to read.
yeah, and that's, yeah, very very difficult to read,
Yeah.
and that is one of the biggest struggles that people with autism face is, um, just being able to connect with people. It's a very difficult struggle, especially when the person you're trying to connect with is not really giving you anything.
It was interesting to see Star flip, but it was cool. Like I think it's cool that
It completely changed my
Star
perspective on Star.
changed. Yeah, she changed actually her entire personality,
If
really.
I think if Star had gone back and she was like, that doesn't really change my opinion about Star, or it doesn't really change my opinion about Eva, I would be like, this is what a bitch. Like, I don't really want to hear from her ever again.
It's
Like,
interesting to think how things could have gone had Eva
not
like
said that.
been well, no, like had she said it earlier, had
Oh
she
yeah, with
told her
Star, her
story
relationship.
earlier, yeah. And how Star could have connected with her entire tribe maybe more.
Yeah,
Because she just seemed so much more open after that. She actually ends up telling the entire tribe that she has her be aware advantage.
which is the first crazy thing that Star does, which is like, why would you even go to that length? Like, that's so insane.
Mm. Well, and Eva pretends that she didn't already know about it.
Yeah, and Eva's like, what? Oh my god,
Oh my god, you're such a good
you're
liar.
such a good liar, and it's like you gotta reel it back. But so then the whole tribe starts looking for clues. Well, actually, they start using the puzzle
They decode
code.
and get the letters.
They get the letters, which is Listen.
Hmm.
Um,
But it's not listen,
it's
it is silent, and Eva
oh yeah,
figures it out.
that's true.
So Eva is the one that opens the decoder,
Yeah,
and
the whole time I was looking at Star, I'm like, I'm kind of trying to feel like she's like thinking of like, give me back my idol, and
she ends up
it's
giving Eva her idol,
she ends up saying, you know what, you earned it, which is what Kyle should have done with Camilla, because
right?
Camilla really went through it to try to
I,
get that.
I mean, it ended up working out. Like
Yeah, I mean,
they
either
both
way it
needed that
worked.
idol.
Yeah, either way it didn't matter, but
But we forgot to mention that Kyle, like he even admits he burned the extra vote that Camilla had, and he
oh
didn't fucking
yeah,
need to.
yeah.
Anyways, we'll
So
come back to that. But yeah, so Bianca ends up giving her idol to
which
Eva. Or
Star,
Star gives
yeah,
her
which I guess is a win-win because Star gets her vote back, and Eva gets an idol. Um, but like, I don't know, to ever give someone your idol willingly because they just like helped you out or basically did it for you, it's pretty wild to me. But
it is a little wild. I mean, I guess those are kind of the things that will happen
and
in these circumstances.
this means Eva is going into merge with an idol,
Yeah.
which is huge.
But she also called Star an ally.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think Eva's gonna use it against Star. I
Mhm.
think that would be really scummy, but um, I don't know. I think I'm really interested on Star's gameplay going forward because at first I was like, I think I know where this is heading, and I don't really care to see it. Like, I just want to get it over with. Is this going to be an episode wasted on getting Star out because
Mhm.
she's on the bottom? But now she's kind of opened up with her tribe, and her tribe is pretty big, and her
Mhm.
tribe is very
Her tribe is actually the only tribe that didn't go to council
didn't go to
tribal council.
council, and they're very chipper and
Very high-spirited.
high-spirited people that are going to gravitate with everyone else on the tribe.
I
So
actually just had the thought, like, do you think that this tribe will go on to not be together? Like, I obviously, Eva is going to go with Joe,
yeah,
but like David, do you think he's going to go back to Siva? He was in an alliance with Chrissy, Camilla, and Kyle.
I think so. I think this is the most interesting group of people as far as like alliances go that I've seen in a minute. I think last season there wasn't a huge amount of alliances.
Mhm.
This season it feels like everyone has such a tight bond with everybody.
It seems like since these last two episodes where they changed tribes, a lot has happened personally for them to create new alliances. So in seasons past, like usually it's always this was our original tribe, we're gonna stick with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it seems like it may not be.
And yeah, now it seems like this new tribe is the one we're gonna stick with.
Mhm.
Whereas before it was like we gotta stay Siva strong, we gotta stay Logi strong, and then people would be plotting against other tribes because like we gotta weaken the Logi team. Whereas so now it's like we just gotta band together with the people we've connected with from this mini merge that we did.
Well, and going back to Logi, Logi tribe, Bianca is voted out in tribal council.
Which is
It was somewhat surprising,
it
but
was pretty
also
surprising.
not super surprising because she made the mistake of telling Cedric that she didn't have a vote.
It was surprising because they didn't frame it in a way where it seemed like Cedric didn't mention anything.
I feel like they now in this era, also in this era, they are always going to edit it to make you believe something different than what actually
Yeah,
happens.
because
They want that
obviously
blind side.
obviously Cedric, because for I guess spoilers, Cedric and Chrissy are the ones who voted for Bianca, and obviously Chrissy and Cedric did not have the same brain idea to be like, let's just vote out Bianca as a hunch.
Cedric must have
He
pulled
must have talked to her,
Chrissy aside at some point
but they
on
never
the
showed
walk.
it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I mean by editing.
Yeah,
They're
because
they're not going to show us.
if they would have showed it, it would have been clear cut. That's
Yeah.
what's happening. So it was a huge shock. I for sure thought it was going to be either a tie or say or Cedric was going to flip on Say,
Yeah, they make you think that it's going to be between Chrissy and Say.
which I don't like in the framing aspect because it's like you're lying to the audience at this point because you're leaving out key information. You're just basically setting us up to be surprised because you're leaving out information.
That's what I mean. Like
that I don't appreciate. Now you're just fucking with the viewers, and
they've done that for a long time though.
I can't really remember another instance. It's probably happened, and I just didn't really think about it. But this time, it really was like it's a little scummy. Editors.
It's a little scummy because they can show us the conversation that Bianca has with Cedric, literally while they have bags on their shoulders.
Yeah.
Like literally minutes before they start walking. So Cedric would have had to pull Chrissy aside. And
however, we'll keep going.
They would have gotten it on film.
Yeah, like, they probably would have gotten it.
They would have recorded that conversation.
Well, because during they have the montage of people going up to write down the words or to write down the people they're going to vote for, and I think when Bianca went up, they showed a clip of Cedric doing a nod to Chrissy. So obviously that was like we're doing what we're doing,
which I didn't catch because I was taking notes.
Yeah. But they showed Cedric nodding to Chrissy. But
you're still to believe that nod meant, yes, we're voting Say out.
Which is what I thought, yeah.
Yeah. Because Chrissy or Bianca decides last minute, like, my gut tells me not to tell anybody and to let this plan happen of Say versus Chrissy. And then it'll be a 2-2. And then with the tie, it'll only be Say and Chrissy, and I will be excluded from the vote. So then it would, but then I thought, like, Okay, so usually when that happens, the people who were in the tie, so Say and Chrissy, wouldn't vote. So then it would be Mitch and Cedric voting. So Bianca was literally hoping that Cedric would change his vote to Say, and it would have only been 2 votes. And so that would have been interesting to watch, but it was also interesting to watch Bianca get.
It would have been another moment of Cedric being led astray into thinking that he has all the votes, but one of his allies does not have a vote.
I think Bianca told him because she thought maybe I could actually work with Cedric.
Yeah.
And if I don't tell him before, will I be able to come
He's
back
not gonna
from
trust
not
me.
telling him that I didn't have my vote?
Yeah, and I felt really a little pit in my stomach for her. Like I felt kind of bad because she was genuinely not
She was
expecting
shocked.
that.
Yeah, she was shocked.
And she was pretty tore up about it. And it's tough to see that. It really is. I think I've only seen a handful of people cry during their tribal or getting their torch snuffed out. The one I always think about, because I feel like not enough people do cry. It's a very sad moment, especially people who make it really far. Um, what I always think about is this girl who I think it was first merge, like it was right at merge. Um, it was a tie, and they all drew rocks, and she was like, "Please don't draw rocks.
Yeah.
Please, please don't draw rocks. I have a bad feeling." And then they drew rocks, and she got the rock, and she got voted out, and she was just sobbing.
She didn't get voted out. She had fate happen to her.
That would, oh my god, that would tear me up inside.
Yeah,
and I don't remember why I think she didn't have a vote or something like that, or she couldn't vote because it was for her, maybe.
No, because in that circumstance, it would have been the 2 people.
Yeah.
And then they would have done another revote, and it would have been tied again. So in that moment, the rest of the people have to decide who is.
So she couldn't vote because she was one of them, right? No, she wasn't even up.
No, what happens is the 2 people that are up for elimination then become safe. So then everyone else has to draw rocks.
No, I know. I remember that part, but I'm wondering why she didn't vote to change up the rocks, to change it up so that it's not a tie.
It has to be a group. Everyone has to agree on one person.
Oh, is that what it is?
So a tie happens. The 2 people that are in the tie are the only 2 votes left.
Yeah.
But they don't vote. And then the next time around, if it's a tie again, they have a chance to decide as a group who is going home.
Yeah.
And so if they cannot come to a decision, then they go to rocks, and the 2 people become safe.
I guess she still had an opportunity to before that chance. She could have been like, I'm just gonna flip my vote. I don't want to go to that opportunity to where it could go to rocks. But either way, that was I think about that moment a lot. Whenever somebody cries, which is very rare, not a lot of people cry when they're getting their torch snuffed out.
It was sad just that she made the wrong decision in sharing.
Yeah, I think that's the one time where it's like, this is exactly what you did to cause what happened.
Voted out.
Yeah, had she not said anything to Cedric, it would have been a 2-2.
Well, and I don't. Maybe she didn't realize that it was merge after that, because had she made it through this one, she would have been fine. She could have gone back to Loggy, and she would have been fine.
Yeah, especially to get voted out before merge. That must be heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Because usually during merge you can lay low. And you don't gotta worry about it. At least at the beginning of merge.
Well, she would have had to make new friendships. And she would have had
that is true,
because Thomas was gone.
She would have had an uphill battle because
she was Thomas's +1 to the California girls.
Yeah, everyone else had huge alliances, and she wasn't really. I mean, her only alliance would have been Cedric or Chrissy and what's his face. But then again, they're not that strong of an alliance. There's only 2 of them.
Chrissy and Mitch.
Yeah. Well, I guess he has Bianca.
Well, Chrissy and Mitch are actually just working together because they're both.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're not even in an alliance.
I don't even think they'll really be tight like that after.
I don't think they will be
after merge. I don't think Chrissy's gonna have a huge alliance with anyone. I think she's just, like I said, I think she's just gonna be the mom of the tribe.
Chrissy was aligned with David, Camilla, and Kyle.
Oh, is that what it was?
But now Camilla and Kyle are supposedly aligned with Shaheen and Joe.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting to see.
I think it's going to be an interesting merge, an interesting episode. I feel like merge is usually at least merge or like the scramble up of teams because one team is losing is usually when the show is like waking you up and be like, all right, now it's time to start paying attention. This is when shit has actually happened.
I feel like post merge is when you can kind of see who
Can make it.
Yeah, who you can have a better idea of who will make it to the end.
Yeah, and I can't say for certain because I'm starting to now come along to Camilla. I think I said last episode, I can see her making it if she plays her cards right, but I think with this new alliance, I think she's got a pretty good shot. And I think if she plays it as smart as she has, she could make it pretty far. Obviously, I think with this though, it's hard to say because she went against three idiots who don't really know what they're doing, and she had a idol and an advantage. So like, there's really nothing going against them. There's nothing they could have done to really fuck that up. Even if they split up the votes, I think they would have been fine. Um, so it does make me think like, was that really just a fluke? Because I have seen some people compare their play to was it Project Italy of last season?
Oh,
where they like bamboozled the entire tribe. I've seen some people say that this play was more impressive than that play, which is fucking ridiculous. I don't even really remember Project Italy.
I kind of remember it.
But that one was more based off of no idols, no advantages. That was just based off of straight deception and lies.
Yeah.
That was way more impressive.
Obviously, Camilla and Kyle had to have their advantages to make it.
Yeah, because if they didn't have those advantages, they the only thing they had was shot in the dark. Yeah. Like there was really no. Yeah, that was like, come on.
Yeah, but it was an impressive maneuver.
It was impressive.
They ended up coming out on top of a 3-2.
Yeah,
which is pretty rare.
Pretty rare.
But that's exactly what advantages are meant for.
Yeah, yeah.
But Kyle using his extra vote or Camilla's extra vote was sloppy because I don't understand why they thought that they needed to use it. Because if they were so certain that using the idol was going to work, why the fuck would they need to use the extra vote? I really don't understand that. Like, why did Camilla give Kyle the extra vote? And then why did Kyle use it? I don't understand that. I really don't. Because in that moment, they were not thinking ahead. Like, had they gone to tribal council again in a 2-2, they would have needed that extra vote. So why wasn't the thought made like even one tribal council ahead? I don't understand that. I really don't. Really don't. But it all worked out because now it's merged and they won't need it, I guess.
Advantage
you can always use it, but that circumstance would have been 100% you need this extra vote. So that was interesting that they used that. That was a mishap in their plan, even though they made it out.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to talk about like guesses of alliances, but
guesses of alliances. What do you mean by that?
Like moving into the merge, who is going to come back together with their tribes or stay with their current tribes? Like,
I think obviously Joe and Eva are going to rekindle and they're going to be tight. I think Camilla is already tight with her four.
Well, let's go with Joe and Eva. Okay. So Joe has just made an alliance with Shaheen, Camilla, and Kyle.
Yes.
So then if he goes back with Eva,
that's 5.
That's 5. And then Eva has just made an alliance with Star.
Yeah, Star. So maybe 6. Even David. I don't know about Mary so much.
I don't know if David's like super strong with Eva. Yeah. I don't know if she would like bring him into this strong alliance.
Well, and that's an interesting point because Star is kind of rogue. She doesn't really have an alliance to go fall back on. I think the most she had was Shaheem and Thomas. Mm-hmm. And I don't see Shaheem being like, oh yeah, Star, I remember you. Let's start working again together. Because he obviously knows that she's not a fantastic game player. But mm-hmm. I
feel like Star could be brought along in a 6-person alliance though.
That'd be huge. That'd be a huge.
I think that she could be brought along as the GOAT later to vote off when once they start needing to vote off their own alliance, she would be
Oh
the first
yeah.
one.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say Chrissy's the goat, but
Yeah, but Chrissy isn't a part
she's
of
not a
the
part of that alliance.
alliance.
Yeah, so I think that is true. I think Star is definitely a good shield and good number to have because she's not going to have anywhere else to really go.
Hmm.
Um,
So then,
that's a pretty big block though. 6 people. If they all really stick and they're all strong together, that's huge.
yeah, that's a big block. So I guess we'll find out what happens with that. So
Yeah.
then there's Chrissy and David. Because if we're assuming that Kyle and Camilla will stick with Shaheen and Joe, then half of Chrissy and David's alliance is now gone.
Yeah, Chrissy just has Mitch at this point.
Who she's only been working with because they ended up on the same tribe.
Yeah, and
so Mitch will probably go back to aligning with Charity.
who's Charity? I mean, I know who she is, but who is she aligned with?
She was aligned with Mitch. They were kind of on the outs
Oh,
of their
okay. So
tribe.
yeah, I would say that Chrissy gets involved with Mitch and Charity. I would say they become a 3 strong for sure.
I mean, literally in this last tribal.
Well, I was gonna say
they
maybe
voted
Cedric,
different.
and maybe that is true, but I think Cedric actually might be a part of
pulled
that.
in, yeah.
I think Cedric can easily mesh with Chrissy as long as Chrissy says, "Hey, you cannot be aligned with Say, or we won't trust you." So it's really gonna depend if, and Cedric kind of made it clear like I don't really see myself going far in this game with someone
Say.
like Say because she is such a liability. So I think if he sees this more obviously appetizing alliance with 3 other people rather than just lonely old Say who has no one else with her besides maybe Mary, who like doesn't really
wild.
fuck with her
After she just called her out in front of everybody.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
yeah. So I don't really see that. I would say the stragglers would be because I think Cedric is going to team up with Mitch and Chrissy and Charity. But I would say the stragglers for sure is going to be Say, Mary, maybe David. And no, they showed David. They showed David actually in the net coming up, kind of dapping somebody up and getting close to somebody else. I forgot who it was.
I didn't notice.
They showed David kind of being like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we're strong."
I was kind of most interested in getting to like who the fuck voted for Bianca after the preview.
Yeah.
But yeah, David is like a super personable guy, so that doesn't surprise me that he can pretty much make an alliance with
anybody
he wants to. So yeah, I wouldn't count David as a straggler, like outsider. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and who loses and who is on the bottom, I think.
Say is definitely on the outs. Like she is by herself.
I would say Mary is probably more tight with David, Star, and Eva, more so than Say is with Chrissy, Mitch, and even Cedric at this point. I would say she's kind of the clear cut, but obviously they might be like, you know what? They always say the clear answer isn't always the right answer or something like that, and they might go for somebody who's a bigger threat, like maybe Mitch. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
I feel like that is what's gonna happen. They're gonna be like, obviously it's gonna be Say, like, come on, and then someone's gonna be like, you know what? This is a little too obvious. Let's actually like use this opportunity to get this person out.
Let's just keep Say around the entire season.
Which happens every season when they're like
one person you just want to see gone.
It's obvious.
They never get voted off.
Yeah, they never get voted off.
Because they're never gonna win.
Exactly. I think
they're
that happened.
Not a threat.
That happened with the Boston guy 2 seasons ago. Which was upsetting because I actually liked him.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. Well, I think that's it for this episode. It's pretty late.
I forgot to mention, it's not important, but we're drinking, in case anyone's wondering,
cheap wine.
This is on sale. This was $5 at Target. This is Yellowtail Merlot. This is kind of our.
It's not Merlot. It's Cabernet.
Cabernet. It's kind of our go. No, I think it's Merlot.
It's a Cabernet.
Is it Cabernet? Oh, I like Merlot too. The Merlot is pretty good, but this is our go-to Yellowtail. Yellowtail and 19 Crimes. is our go-to because they're relatively cheap but pretty good. You know, I feel like when I hear about wine recommendations, they're like, "Oh man, this wine you gotta really check it out. $20 for a little ass thin bottle," and it's like, "Yo, who the fuck is trying to buy?"
Show the bottle.
Yeah, this is actually well, this isn't what it typically looks like. They usually have a kangaroo. I think it's an Australian brand, Yellowtail. We actually got this in California, so can't even be drinking it where we're at. But this is pretty. It's amazing deal. I mean, look how thick and big this bottle is.
It's a huge bottle, $5. Are you kidding me? And it tastes fine.
It tastes good. It tastes like standard good wine that you would get at like a restaurant.
Yeah, I can drink it like while I'm cooking, while we're doing.
Oh, and this is so good in spaghetti. If you're making spaghetti and you're making a red sauce, dabble some up in this, fry it out, fry out all the alcohol. This is so good.
We didn't say last week whether we liked the 19 Crimes. I really liked it. I thought it was good.
It was pretty good, and I actually think it's kind of just a reskin of their regular red wine because it has a guy on the guy's face on it.
I feel like it tasted a little different.
It might have tasted a little different, but
we do like 19 Crimes. Most of their, not all of them.
Not all of them. Some of them are a little nasty, but their best one, in my opinion, is their
Martha's Chard.
I am not a huge Chardonnay person, but Martha's Chard, and maybe it's because it is Martha, it is so good. And if we're talking red wines, I think their best one is Banished. There is another one. I'll put it up on screen if I can find it. It's also pretty good. But I would say if you want a good bang for your buck, and this is pretty much at every liquor store you'll probably find in America. This is such a good one. It's typically $8.99, I think, or maybe $9.99. If you want a thin bottle, like a traditional wine bottle that's thin, and it's like however many ounces a normal bottle is, like the ones you'll find at a restaurant or something, that one is usually like $5.99, I think. But this one is either $8.99 or $9.99. I got this at Target on sale because I have a Circle Plus account, for $5, which is a fucking steal. I actually regret not getting more.
I just think it's funny, like you're getting wine recommendations out of us too.
For real,
we just cover everything.
I mean, if you really want a good box recommendation too, we'll put it up on screen. There's two like main box recommendations or box wines that you'll see at a liquor store, and one of them tastes like shit.
Awful.
Tastes like horse shit. And the other one, pretty good. Fine. Pretty good for wine, for a box wine.
If you're a cheap ass bitch like we are, like
this is a good bang for your buck. I really can't recommend it enough. If you see it and you're like, it looks a little cheap, and you hate Australians like I do, like this is the way to go.
Hate Australians?
I don't hate Australians. I actually do like their accent. I don't like
product of Australia, southeastern Australia.
Yeah, actually, hold on. I'll read the little description for you real quick. The Cassiella family has been crafted.
No, you gotta read this.
Oh, this is the highlight.
The description of the wine itself.
Oh yeah, you're right. Classic and velvety. Doesn't taste like either of those things. With notes of juicy black currants, sweet mocha, and spice. I don't know about the spice, but I do like a good wine that kind of reminds me of blackberry. Mm-hmm. It does remind me a little bit of a tart blackberry. And if there's ever a description of wine, or if there's ever a wine description on a bottle that says blackberry, I'm bought. I love blackberries.
Is that what you read out of black currants?
A little bit, but I don't even know what that is. But it just reminds me of blackberries. It kind of tastes like biting a blackberry and swishing it in your mouth for like 5 minutes, and like having that flavor in your mouth. That's kind of what it tastes like.
Well, I think I can kind of see why they would describe it that way. But overall, it's a good wine for being. It's pretty good, and it's cheap.
13.5 alcohol percent. I think that is a little lower. Typically, I think it's normally the average is around 14, 15%. 14, 15. But there's a lot of wine in there, and you can definitely get turned up if you're just by yourself. If you're soloing it, for sure. And if you got a partner or you got like a party, and you're just trying to drink your own bottle, that'll get you where you need to go by the end of the night if you drink the whole bottle, for sure.
That would be whack.
What?
To drink that whole bottle
by yourself. It would be pretty depressing, but you can do it. It's pretty good.
This is only my second glass. I'm not even done. I can feel it a little bit.
Yeah, we actually just went to a restaurant. I can't believe. I feel like we got scammed.
We
Like,
definitely did.
we went to a restaurant and we
100%.
got 2 margaritas each. So she got
I got 2
oh
Moscow
no,
Mules.
she got 2 Moscow's Mules. I actually could taste the alcohol a little bit.
In the first one I did, but the second one I did not.
Yeah, and I have my margarita. It's a traditional margarita. It's like $13. I have the margarita. It tastes like a fucking virgin margarita. There's like no juice.
Didn't feel a thing.
I didn't feel a single thing, and I was like, and then she comes around. She's like, "Oh, do you want another margarita?" I'm like, "I'm driving. Sure. I don't know. I'm driving." And I'm like, "Fuck it. I don't feel anything." I get my next margarita, and it there is a little bit of an alcohol taste, a little bit, but it's still not anywhere to get me going. Like,
we also did eat steaks with it.
Yeah, I mean, we had a big steak, and
I just feel like I should have felt a little bit.
I didn't feel
from 2 Moscow Mules.
From 2 margaritas and 2 Moscow Mules. I didn't feel a single thing. She didn't feel a single thing. That's crazy.
How much was yours the same price? $11?
No, mine was 13. I think
yours was $13.
I think it was 13.
I think mine was like $10.95.
I think so. I honestly thought about getting a Jack and Coke, but or a beer, but apparently.
Never. I mean, why haven't I learned this lesson? Like, don't order drinks at restaurants.
Yeah, restaurants will usually chip you.
They fucking suck.
Yeah, if you want a good.
I was gonna order a cab and I ended up not, but I probably wouldn't have been satisfied with that either, because they pour like this much.
Yeah, I honestly thought about getting a beer, because if you're getting a beer, you're getting a beer. Like, that's just straight up alcohol. You're not getting any fucking extra pour on the soda or whatever, or the juice. I need to rant about that. I was upset because like that is expensive for a margarita, and to not feel anything, like not even a tiny buzz. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Especially like I have to remind myself, like, do not order cocktails at a restaurant.
Yeah,
like,
pro tip: if you're trying to get somewhere as far as a buzz, just get a beer
or wine.
Get something that only has alcohol in it, because you're just gonna get fucking robbed.
Or that the bartender cannot fuck you over.
Yeah, unless you're in Mexico. They will fucking hook you up for sure. You can go anywhere in Mexico. If you ask for a fucking a Jack and Coke, they won't even fucking measure it. They'll just fucking be like, all right, let me just pour that, pull a little dab of.
It's a different country, but
it's a different country. They know what's up. But if you're in America, you definitely gotta watch out, because they'd be really fucking robbing you on that. I think that's it for this episode. God, I hope this isn't an hour again, but it probably is. We just completely yapped like crazy on this one.
Hopefully you like hearing us yap.
Yeah. I think at a certain point, when there's more viewers, I'll probably do Patreon cuts to where
you can see the whole thing.
The regular episode is like this, and then the YouTube version will be a more condensed version about the actual episode. But if you made it this far, like and subscribe. If you're listening to us on audio platforms, that's crazy.
And thank you.
I think that's it. We don't even got time for the challenge.
No, probably not.
Too late. We gotta go to bed. Don't say it.